First of all, thank you for coming out on a Friday night. Rather than hanging out, dancing, boogalooing, doing your thing at the club. We're here getting some knowledge tonight. For me here, personally, I honor the ancestors for bringing me here. I honor the ancestors giving me the knowledge to present before you today. Nothing I'm presenting is something that I created on my own by myself. We all stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before us. So I in no way acknowledge that I am the one. I have the only knowledge. No, I have a piece of knowledge to be passing on as a vehicle for you to raise your consciousness. So that's what we're going to start off tonight. Okay? In the interest of time, I'm going to make sure I can run through these slides to give you a visual representation of what I'm trying to express about the meaning of blackness. It can be a dangerous title. I appreciate the fact that you invited me back. Because if you go to present somewhere, they don't invite you back, you have to ask them. Maybe you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Or maybe you did something that, guess what, they're scared of you now. But you invited me back as family, and I appreciate that. So I feel like I'm part of the family, so thank you. I got a brother from Lincoln University. They came all the way from Pittsburgh, they said, for the caca. Just the videotape from this. That's important.
Yeah.
John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, John G. Jackson, scholars that have come before us, Drusilla Dungy Houston. The images. We need to have the images, see the recorded documents. You know how many names we don't know of people that have gone, we've never heard their words. Maybe we've seen their books. Maybe we've heard about them, but you never saw them give a delivery. So the whole issue of maintaining the records is very important. Y'all know what's happening in Africa. They're wiping away the records.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll never know about the meaning of blackness. That's what we're dealing with this title. I'm dealing with a scenario where you are also dealing with it. You talk to people and they don't know if they're black, African, African American, color. Where are you? How do we come to 2012 and we're still worrying about our significance? That's what we look in the mirror every day. Are we running from blackness? So we're going to deal today with this whole issue of melanin and how important it is as a determining factor to anoint your blackness. I have a 15-year-old daughter who asked me the other day, so Dad, are we African American or are we black? Because she has a teacher in high school asking her, teacher stating that she's just an American. I'm pretty sure it was probably a black teacher telling my black daughter that she's just an American.
Right.
So my daughter's asking me the question, so what are we? I said, well, you know, we're African. I'm an African living in America.
There it is.
You see, I was stolen, I was taken. I don't even have my history and culture. I don't even know who I am because someone took that. You have to be so angry, Dad. I'm trying to get you to understand. My mother's there with us in the same discussion. So my daughter's 4.0, straight A student, basketball. She's a scholar. She's a young girl growing up with an identity of not knowing what her identity is, coming from a parent that has an identity. So I'm trying to express to her that our history has been taken away from us. Dark matter, what is dark energy, what is blackness, and what is triple dark? We're running from ourselves because we let's start off right away. What is melanin? Melanin is a complex biopolymer. So you were continually told that what happens in your consciousness. You might be able to get the DVD quite suck that in from this presentation. You might now take that in. As you take that in, your consciousness changes. Melanin is a complex biopolymer. Complex because there's many. So when we deal with this issue of melanin, bio because it has some chemical aspects of it that make it a biological substance. Polymer because it's almost indestructible, like plastic, like things that can't be broken down. So as a chemical substance, it's everywhere, can't be like removed, and dark matter is this substance in the sky. It is almost like chemical element that we're saying. 90% of our universe is out there, and it's a biological substance that has some properties that are not just here in our skin. It's a pigment, not just here in our skin. It's also in our brains, in our eyes, in our ears. So never let anybody tell you it's some waste product. It has no relevance to our biology. It has a whole lot of relevance to what we look at every day. The second one, what is dark matter? A newer concept that has come up about this energy that makes the universe kind of swell is really melanin out there in the sky. The universe swells dark, and this concept of melanin is caused. You may not be able to conceptualize that, but we talk about something called the Big Bang, about the melanin theory system. We get nothing but what? A microcosm of a macrocosm. So when you hear the terms dark matter being described in the universe, dark matter is the melanin in the universe. Dark energy. The Big Bang, something that happened like 13.7 million years ago. I'll show you a slide to look at that. We're going to go into the deep depths of the universe in the deep depths of ourselves, we need to come out of this lecture to know what blackness is, okay? The universe expands from this original explosion, but as it's expanding, it also goes up and down. You know, you chew gum, blow a bubble. You can make it go up and down, right? You can make it expand. So the same things happen in the universe. What is it? Energy. So do we just deal with the issue of your color, calling it dark energy? Do we also deal with beyond it in the universe? We also have something called somebody need to talk about it in our brain. But they can do a slide show you about that. So we're dealing with the issue. When you're not doing anything, is it like more than just a skin tone? Even thinking about it, something to do with now your thinking and your thought pattern, your brain becomes active. Your consciousness, there's this default mode that occurs in your brain that becomes active when you're just sitting relaxing, meaning that something is actually happening. They're calling it dark and light. What is blackness? That first darkness that we talk about. I had notes. I had some notes around here. Not like I need any notes.
How's your camera action back there? It's good. Yeah.
So that's what we're also going to delve into. And then this issue of triple right now, dark, triple dark. So let's speak about, like right now, it's dark out, huh? Cleveland, Ohio, in the north, fall time, 7:20, it's dark out already. So darkness is what you see right now in the universe where we're at. So that's the first darkness we can see. Well, you came out of the womb of darkness. Was not the womb dark when you were born? So the womb is dark. So darkness outside, darkness in the womb. But something had to create all this in the first place. That's the original darkness. That the original creator created from darkness. I don't think we keep up with it unless y'all read the Bible. In the Bible it says, this is not so much the Bible, but this is a concept coming from what the Bible states about, this is chapter 1 of John, verse 1 through 5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was in the light of men, and the light shineth in what? Darkness. In the midst of darkness, anything can happen, anything can manifest. The Word. Your ideas are nothing but what? The beginning of something manifesting. The Word. Now this is some 1611, was it? King James Version of conceptualizing what Africans were talking about from the beginning. The Bible is some reinterpretation of what Africans were studying from the beginning. So when we talk about origins, this issue of the triple darkness, we were analyzing this way back. That's how we built pyramids, by understanding the universe, by conceptualizing things that are not right in front of you. What is that called? Metaphysics. Esoteric knowledge. We mastered that. Why? Can I say that? Because you can go back to Africa and see on the temples, the things they built, mastered the esoteric knowledge, metaphysics of understanding these principles, and that's why I think we created those terms. If you ever studied Kemetic philosophy, it talks about in the beginnings, the waters of none, out of it comes a hill, Ptah. On the top of Ptah says atom, A-T-U-M, but you got to check that out. Because if they talking about that back then, what does the white man tell you about science? In the atom, A-T-O. What did they have in their Bible about the beginnings with Adam and Eve? You trying to tell me that stuff ain't connected? It's just disjointed? No, that's African philosophy coming through what Europeans' interpretations of things. So we go to this triple darkness. Now you start to get our conception of things that deal with blackness becoming very important. Y'all with me? All right, let's take a ride through the universe then. 13.7 billion years ago, that's when they say, boom, the Big Bang happened. And everything has been spreading and expanding ever since. So when you look at this diagram here, you see from the beginning, But the Big Bang occurred. So all this mess in here, and all this dark stuff in here, 90% of it is this dark matter, dark energy. All the other stuff that you can see, that's like 2% of the universe. The stars and all that you see, that's minuscule compared to what's in the entire universe. So this darkness becomes very key and critical. So we live in something called anybody know the galaxy we live in?
Milky Way.
Milky Way, yes. What's the shape of the Milky Way? Spiral. Any, not just reasons why you say it's spiral, any conceptualizations why it's spiral? Nature of the energy in the universe. That's so deep because if the Milky Way is spiral, and we are nothing but a microcosm of the macrocosm, what is the DNA? I gotta spin around that. A double spot, double helix. So we're dealing with a situation where the universe really depicts how we are. Why? Because the Creator created us out of the universe. It's all in the books. It's all in the philosophies. They continually state it, but do you understand it? That's the point. Because if you understood it, you wouldn't do what you do to your body. Come on. If you understood it, you wouldn't do what you do to your mind. If you understood it, you would study the universe every day because there's no other reason to be here. But to do that and serve your brother or sister. Not to make some dollar and make some money. Nah, we should be here to serve. And as you're serving the universe. You're serving the entity that created you. The first principle, you said Brother Wayne Chandler was here? Walking in his midst before me. He wrote a book called Ancient Future. The teachings and the philosophies of Hermetic wisdom. He talks about the 7 principles. The first one is the all, mentalism. Everything is connected. It all came from what? The word first. That's us, African people, talking to the world about how the world was created. You know how many people continue today still try to wonder where did I come from? Especially white people. Why? Because black people are the original people. So the question is, well, where do they come from? That's why the issue of what is the meaning of blackness is important. Because once you start defining your reality, other realities come in question. And repeat that one again. I'll let it go over your head. When you start defining your own reality, other people's realities come into question.
Yes, absolutely.
So this issue about truth, this little teeny small passage about truth. No new truths await discovery. Everything has been given already. But it has all been scattered abroad and dispersed, misrepresented by analysis, dulled by routine repetition. The essential words have been prostituted. We must recover the vital meaning of these ideas. We've been taking our knowledge from others, reinterpreting it. We now must go back to the sources to understand what it really means. So by going to the universe, you now go back to yourself and you study what it is that you need to do to move forward. So on a cellular level, there's intelligence in the cell. I don't know how we don't even study that. If you think about a corpuscle, that is like a blood cell going through your veins. When you look at them science studies and they show the veins and they show the little red stuff and the little platelets and things going through, there's intelligence because you get to a certain like bifurcation or splitting in a vein. One got to wait for the other to go through. There's intelligence in that. I don't know how we make it through the stoplights. We have no stoplights invented by a black man. We wouldn't know how to get through these streets because we got our own minds. I'm not waiting for him. I got here first. Crash accident. Cells know what to do, black people. Also, you think about everybody been to Africa, specifically like Nigeria, or even Ghana, guess what? They ain't got no stoplights. But they get around, don't they? They make it work. So on the level of the cells, there's intelligence. They ain't got no brains, but they know how to work and get through. So think about our cells like the ones that make us who we are, like the sperm for a male, like the egg for the woman. There's intelligence in terms of how that operates in the womb of darkness. Mom's cell, with the DNA, she has on it a gene that can imprint something. Dad's cell on his sperm has a gene that can imprint or silence something. So you can silence genes by what it is that your genes have. So you can make a gene work even higher or stronger. So for us as African people, we have the genes that make what? The elements that make melanin. specifically something called tyrosine or tyrosinates. The more we have of this chemical element, the more it makes the melanin. So that's all at the genetic level. The lack of that, then the lighter you are, and maybe you're adapting to your environment to live like that. On the level of the cells and the egg and the sperm, does the sperm have a brain? It does. It's just the body and the tail. How the heck does it know to get to the egg?
Zygote.
So that's what it makes after we come together. But the point is, how does the sperm know how to get to the egg? That's the question I'm asking.
It has an intelligence of its own.
How do they get there?
There's an intelligence in the center of every cell of everything.
That's right.
And that's where we need to be to understand
Right,
it.
exactly.
Intelligence is everywhere. And we're now at the point where we lack the intelligence just to make a living, just to work together, just to get around. You got cells on this level that know what to do. Look at our lives. We don't know what the heck. We don't know whether we should support Brother Hampton or not. Should we come out to support the Truth Series or talk about it? Should we come in to be down disrupted? So we don't support our own causes. They know what to do. Cells know what to do to make the next generation of human beings. And when they come together, look at this. Through development and even in adulthood, the pattern of activity in your genes depends on those initial imprints from each parent. And this is the deep part about it. Most of the genes are expressed in the brain. In the womb of darkness, it is the brain that's got to guide you with the intelligence to get to where it needs to be. That's the first thing formed in the womb of darkness. And without melanin, it ain't gonna happen. I can prove that because what the science shows that, or the books talk about that. Here is a symbol of a baby. You got the female symbol, you got the male symbol combined, making the baby as it is developing in that darkness. Got to be some sparks, some electricity, something happened to make the cells go and work to what build this organism, to create this entity. Out of nothing comes something. Out of nothing comes something. It is, but it ain't. That's what we are. Y'all black people, we ain't. We don't know what the heck we are. So we now got this developmental process where you got in the womb of darkness, something must spark that entity to grow, and that's electricity. If you think about ancient cultures in this, or the discussions of origins, the beginnings, water, cells, the chemical elements were all there, talking about the beginning and the start, and darkness, and boom, electricity starts there. Y'all go lick your finger and put an electric socket, see what happens to you. You got electricity generating all through your body, but in the beginning stages of starting life, the spark of life is also occurring in the womb of darkness. So matter cannot be created or destroyed. I'm sure you heard that in physics. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. That's like melanin. Self-synthesis. Can't get rid of it. It's there. Don't try to lighten your skin. It's going to come back. It is, but it ain't. You are here, but you are not. It's like everything is like a manifestation of a reality that's, you can't get rid of it. Not saying like karma, but as an element, as a chemical substance. In the beginning was the word was everything, and everything that manifests, we still hear the beginning of it. Because we're a part of that reality that created everything from the very first initiation. So self-synthesis is key. People don't talk about that. Melanin is a self-synthesizing molecule. If you know you get dark when the sun is shining outside your body, the sun is not shining in your body, but guess what? There's melanin inside your body. It's self-synthesized to function in those places in the body to do what it's supposed to do. I'll have a little chart later on to tell you what the importance of melanin is. In the midst of that, in terms of talking about the biological advantages, I'm expressing to you here that it's self-synthesized, it makes its own self. That's a creative element that doesn't exist anywhere else, except for the universe, and now in our bodies. And the last point here is there's intelligence in the cell, and we're talking about what you just explained to me about the egg and the sperm working together to what? Make the zygotes. So matter cannot be created or destroyed. It is there. So that means it's self-synthesized. You can't get rid of it. It's always going to be there. As you self-synthesize, melanin becomes a very important molecule. In the midst of the brain cell developing in the womb, there's something called a cranial neural tube. Cranial, as in with the brain tube. It's black, dark, melanated. If you don't have that at the level of development, guess what? You develop things like spinal bifida, neural tube defects. You got a child that everything ain't gonna make it. So from the very beginning of the stages of development, if you do not have melanin functioning, you're not going to have an entity. So there's intelligence that goes along with this, and the brain becomes the first, pretty much, organ really developed to help guide you the darkness. Doesn't that make sense? Your brain is where the thinking is. How can you have a body if you have no brain? Take my head off, put it on the table, what my body is. Drop to the ground, because there's nothing guiding. Does that make sense? I don't want to do the example like really cut my head off and put it on the table. You see, you understand what I'm saying? Talk black to me now. Y'all with me? Okay. So if I ain't got no head, then the body can't work. So the brain is in the womb of darkness to help guide everything else. Does it make sense? So in the triple darkness, the brain is created first to help think through darkness. So brain power. So we're talking about the dark energy explained about in the universe, but you also now see it through science in our brains. Brain regions are active when our minds wander. So you think about wandering, you think that really nothing's going on, but actually there's a whole lot being activated, and you can measure it via electrical activity. And then, so this holds the key to understanding neurological disorders and also consciousness. Because the question is, well, really, what is consciousness? An awareness of something, but are we really conscious? Are we really going to vote for Mitt Romney because you're just mad at the black man because he didn't do what you want him to do? Are we really conscious? Not knowing that the other man is a Mormon, and in the Mormon Bible they got something called the Ham story that talks about black people are cursed. Are you conscious of that? Maybe not, because all you've seen is a bunch of performers on TV. So we're not conscious, and that's what happens when our brains aren't working properly. So melanin is a master conductor. Let's talk about the science aspect of this. Black people, black absorbs. That's why when it's hot out and you wear black, what happens? White reflects, doesn't absorb. So white is the absence of color, although there's a color. But it's the absence of the light that should be shined to what absorbs to make something different. So blackness becomes a color that can absorb and take in. It manifests the properties of taking in. It manifests in properties that take in that then has an impact on really our consciousness. You know, we receive a whole lot of stuff. On the level of a woman, women are the most receptive individuals on the planet. The black woman, the most receptive on the planet, her melanin, and the womb. So this issue of receiving and taking in has a lot to do with why we're so empathetic and so free, and why we appreciate humanity, and why the most important axiological, that is A-X-I-O, axiological reference point for us is man, woman. People, not things. So if somebody step on your shoestring, you got a problem, huh? Don't step on my shoestring. This is me. So we have some issues with our thinking about having those things impact our consciousness. Versus Europeans, they're wearing flip-flops, they ain't worried about them. They're not even worried about those kind of material. Well, they do wear the material. What's the money that they got? That's why they can wear the flip-flops. They do whatever they want to do. So it becomes a situation where material that defines their reality versus people defining our reality. And again, the melanin as a particular element within our bodies gives us this issue of empathy. Because these terms, capacitance, resistance, conductor, amplifier, threshold switcher. When we say capacitance, that is the ability to take in. Those who are electricians, you know, there's capacity that can be created to what make an instrument work a little bit better. Resistance, also a part of the whole flow of energy. So we know melanin is a chemical that can take in energy, and as it's absorbing energy, it makes cells move to a higher state of consciousness. Conductor. Anything that can be used to what transmit energy is a conductor. So melanin serves in its place in the body to help conduct information so that the body can translate it. Let me give you a quick example before I go on to the rest of the lecture where you'll see a slide that's showing that. What we see out here are light waves. Energy that's out here for us to see. It's called visible light. Your body must recognize that. So there must be somewhere in the body where the light waves are converted for your brain to understand what that means. Where does that happen? In your eyeball, but on the back part of your eyeball. On what? Something called the retina. On the back part of the eyeball is dark in color. It's a pigmented cell layer on the back of your retina. Guess what? If you don't have the pigmented cell layer, you have a disease called retinitis pigmentosa. That's problematic because what? You're virtually blind. You can't see. So the melanin's in the brain or in that part of the eyeball to help convert the energy that's out here for your brain to now recognize what you're seeing. Conductor. Got me? Let's talk black to me. Got me?
Yes, I got you.
Threshold switcher. It can make energy change from different levels. Y'all know y'all can get mad in a second.
What?
Get hyped for no reason.
What?
So maybe that's why Obama acted like a nut in the first debate. Because he just wants to be quiet and calm. So they don't think that he's some angry black man. So they said he was on NyQuil. So I don't know what it but that wasn't the man we knew should have been representing the world, United States of America, but he was up there. But there's a connotation in black people when they start to say what they have to say. So my daughter said, "Why are you angry talking about your history was stolen?" Because it was, damn it. I don't know my history. I don't know where I came from. I can't go to any books to say what my heritage is. Gabon, Angola, Liberia, I don't know. I shouldn't be mad for that. Someone stole my history. I'm supposed to like be happy about that. So upset about that. So electricity is a mystery. Electricity is a mystery. How do we get all this stuff contracted? Brother came in and just looked it up, just like that. You need electricity too, didn't you? Did you bring electricity with you? Yeah. You did? Oh man, okay. You bought electricity with him. So electricity then is a mystery because again, it's out there. People can hook it up and make some things happen, just like we just did. Melanin becomes a mystery because it's everywhere. On a simplistic level, people, if you see a plant, the plant is green. Why is the plant green? It has chlorophyll. What is chlorophyll? Pigment. Without the pigment, life does not exist for the plant. Black people, you were born, you get the sun, you get melanin. What is melanin? A pigment. Without the pigment, you can't survive. Why? Because the sun will eat you up, cause something called cancer. That's right. Ultraviolet radiation will kill you. So we have protection, what is it? Melanin. That's right. So that's why you know the people there in Africa weren't white. Doesn't make sense. How you gonna be butt naked out there in Africa and you white? You're gonna build a pyramid with no coat on. That doesn't make sense, does it? No. And you know they weren't white people. That's why they called it Kemet, land of the blacks. You know they weren't white people, but see, to kind of make it easier for them to kind of conceptualize, well, see, they were dark-skinned white people. So let's go to chemistry, the science that deals with the composition, structure, properties, interactions, and transformations of matter. We already talked about that. What? Matter can't be created or destroyed. Our Africans were studying that way back. How can I prove it? Because you go to the goddamn temples and see it written on the damn thing in stone. Ain't some book that somebody just wrote, do like some coloring book. No, this is written in stone for you to see now, today, what we were studying in the past. So chemistry comes from Africa. Chemistry is just like some coincidence. So this is a picture from Brother Ka. I don't know if you have any comments on this, but you see like this filament on the temple wall, and you see this like snake in the middle. It's not really a snake, it's like what's made like the filament for the bulb. So maybe they were channeling that electricity way back then as they're working inside the tombs, inside the pyramids, inside the temples, because gosh darn it, I don't know how to work in the dark, unless you got a camera. But there's no soot on the walls. If there's no soot on the walls from the candles burning, how the hell they been seeing? Did the brother bring his equipment over here and hook something up so they can go to work in the pyramids? Did he do it like that? Something was going on, and they wrote on the temples that they had something, some devices. You know, they had the boats that were sitting near the bottom of the pyramids. That was, you know, they said, oh, the Africans didn't have no boats. They had boats over there in Africa. On the east side, one of the bottom of the pyramid, because they told us the Africans weren't traveling the world. They weren't seeing anything. So we've been continually told over and over that African people have never done nothing. That's why we don't know the meaning of blackness. That's why we're running for ourselves. Because you want to go towards something you really appreciate, support, and understand versus something that you're scared of and you're running from. So, as I transition, any questions for me as I transition to this science piece? Yes, sir.
What temple was that carving
For the car, can you let us know what temple that was?
That was the temple of Dendera.
Yes.
And you know what's really amazing about this? And in order to see this, you got to go 65 feet into the temple, 20 feet down. And the door is only maybe 3 feet high, like up to here, and all this is stone. So you have to go under. The best thing I did was sit down and scoot in order to see this. And it's on the wall, carved in stone.
Temple of
This
Dendera.
is just like that. And on the inside is a snake. Eels were electric. Eels are electric, and now had powerful electric eels. And when you look at this, as soon as I saw the jet pillar, this is an electronic capacitor, like he's talking about for electricity. As soon as I saw that, I knew what it was. That's the backbone of Osiris.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Can you go back to the one slide before that, please? Yes.
So the next stage of this lecture is going to now move into the melanin piece, because I don't want you having to have any discussion with someone saying that melanin is some fake molecule or has no relevance to life. We're going to deal with little few principles that will help you out to give you some sense of this science discussion on melanin. So I already told you it's a complex biopolymer. Also, there are peptide molecules that can make it more and make it less. That is, make the melanin be exerted and also slow it so you don't see it. You have mechanisms internally that already do that. So they are recognized as playing a major role in, like, animals. You've seen a chameleon. You've seen spiders, or they can adapt to surroundings that are right there. That's all melanin happening on an animal level. We don't really change colors. Here, Urban King. Really, in social context. But some people can change colors. No, not people. No, we usually see it on animals. But guess what? Something is happening inside of us. There's something called melanocyte stimulating hormone, MSH. There's also something called melanin concentrating hormone, MCH. So these hormones are circulated inside of our body to cause the melanin to be exerted or to slow it down. That ain't got nothing to do with the sun. I'm telling you, it happens naturally and normally. Yes, sir.
Is melanin a thing or is it a function?
It is a biological element that has some function. And I'll explain the three major ones that I expressed, of course, you remember. But it's a actual entity that has a biological function. So, in short, let me try to show this. If you get the slide, maybe the DVD, maybe you can see. These are carbon-based molecules. Melanin is a carbon-based molecule. Carbon, black. On the element chart, it's dark element. There's now new technology that is like darker, the darkest dark. 99% something called graphene. You got all these new technologies coming that are studying melanin. New technology dealing with nanotechnology, N-A-N-O, nano dealing with a billionth of a meter, so small that you never would imagine that could even exist. A billionth of a meter. You got technology that can be used to put different types of things on to make it as strong as possible, and now they're using melanated compounds to do that. The space shuttle has a black panel on the bottom to ensure it doesn't blow up coming into the atmosphere. Some airplanes, they used to have a black nose on it to make sure that energy doesn't dissipate and cause the plane to blow up. So people are studying on all places. You just not study. So on the left side here is the biosynthetic pathway to making neurotransmitters. Kind of hard to see on the slide there, but it's phenylalanine to tyrosine to L-DOPA, dopamine, norepinephrine to epinephrine. Those are the chemicals you need for your brain to work. They're carbon-based. One of these pathways here can also lead off to making melanin. One of the key, in your notes, one of the key enzymes that is triggering this is called tyrosinase. T-Y-R-O, tyrosinase, S-I-N-A-S-E. It's an enzyme that helps to trigger the tyrosine to then make the melanin. There's also something called tyrosine hydroxylase. Sounds like a similar enzyme. But the tyrosine hydroxylase makes your neurotransmitters. So one amino acid, tyrosine, can go this way or it can go that way. Goes this way, it makes the melanin. Goes this way, it makes the neurotransmitters. Yes, sir.
So the second one that you mentioned, when that one's out of balance and not there, a person can also go to a quick depression state. They can go up and down quick.
Which one in particular? Dopamine?
The second one. The second one that to affect the dopamine.
The second one, the one after I mentioned, is norepinephrine.
You know,
Tyrosine.
Yeah, the trihydroxylase
Okay.
can affect the dopamine with it and make a person go from happy to boom,
Yeah.
no matter second.
Because essentially enzymes are anything that can break a chemical down
Yep.
to the next stage. So if you have a problem with the enzymes, then you may not make the chemical, which means you may impact the what level of chemicals in the brain. Yes. And so there's not drugs, drugs called monoamine oxidase inhibitors
Right.
that stop those things from working so they can help boost, a person to have more of those chemicals.
And that goes right back to when you talk about the plants and the sun, when you talk about the chlorophyll, because of what it does to help with the body. So when the body's not getting what you said, infrared rays, what they can do from the sun, how they can really mess somebody up. The same thing found with the food. That's why people want their diet. It's so important, and they don't put all them pieces together.
Right.
So you're getting right on some points that I tried, but these points here I didn't have in my sequence of what I do.
And so again, so this one over here is just for the brain pathways. Here you have some more chemicals that are in the brain. You heard of serotonin, that's one that deals with depression. Most of those serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are very important. No, reuptake inhibitors for serotonin, they are functioning to what help out with depression. So it's a carbon-based molecule. Serotonin is produced in the daytime in the pineal gland, and nighttime is melatonin. Serotonin is converted into melatonin. I know they sound like a whole lot of chemicals you've never heard of before. Guess what you need to know? You need to study what it means to be black. So glutamate, GABA, glutamate is an excitatory amino acid. Amino acid, I'm saying the word again. So amino acids are nothing but building blocks of proteins. You have essential ones that you need. You don't get them from your diet, you don't have what your body needs. So amino acids are like Lego blocks. Take Lego blocks and you just build and make something. So the bigger the Lego block, then the bigger the protein, because you put a whole lot of amino acids in. So amino acids are important. So one of them is called glutamate, it's excitatory. One is called GABA, inhibitory. So many of your neurotransmitters, chemicals, work like acceleration and deceleration. Enhance, some slow down, because you can't have your brain always revved up. Somebody who has their brain always revved up, like too much dopamine, they got schizophrenia. They got problems. Somebody with depression, not enough, also a problem. So you need a balance. So there's a question.
Can any of these be synthetically created?
Yes. And then that becomes problematic because you're dealing with the scenario of anything synthetic put in the body is going to alter the body. So yes, most of the neurotransmitters that are manipulated to treat disorders are basically through synthetic molecules. You can't exactly make some of these in exact replica, but you can go to the laboratory and create things. You go get serotonin or tryptophan or tyrosine, things in the laboratory that can now be concocted to make these things. But synthetic molecules are just dangerous. And that's why the drug, the whole medical pharmaceutical industrial complex is problematic. Because you're dealing with putting in synthetic things into the body. Okay, what's the outcome of that? How does your body fight it? Yeah, it's very problematic. And then they can then mess up some of the, again, the nucleic acids, the genetic material in your brain, in your body. Adenine, thymine, glucose, protein, stearic acid, all these things are carbon-based molecules. The point is, guess what? They could probably also be absorbed by melanin. That's a complex diagram showing the whole melanin molecule. And the multiple types of chemical elements that could be found in it. You got quinones, you got riboflavin, that's like vitamin B1. You got tetrapyrrole, you got purines, you got amine groups, carotene, in orange, like carrots. And so all the properties that are in melanin, or you break it down, are in other elements that are important for life. So as a molecule that has all this stuff in it, and being that it's black, it absorbs, takes in. And as it absorbs and takes in, what does it do? It can now attract things that it should not attract. So over time, that is a lengthy time of living, the more melanin you have, the more protective elements it can give you, but the worse off in the long run if you've been polluting your body. Double-edged sword. If you had a sword, if I slice you this way, that's good, right? Guess what? Go back the other way, slice you again. Double-edged sword. Meaning on one end, the melanin could help to protect because it's keeping away bad things, stopping toxic elements from hindering the body. But as it absorbs it for a long period of time, like if, example, the eraser here. If this was a black board with, no, let's say a white board with black writing, and I kept on using the eraser over time, all the stuff absorbed by the eraser is the melanin absorbing the toxicity. But supposed to come back 2-3 years from now, we continue to do the same thing, it no longer absorbs as well as it did anymore. Now it's non-functional. Can't use this eraser. You gotta buy another one. So people who suffer from diseases like Parkinson's disease, as a result of the brain, these areas that are melanated now becoming disturbed, not working properly. So it's a double-edged sword. It protects on one end, but in the long run, too much of it, not too much of it, too much toxicity. Like here, you got opiates, cocaine, pesticides, alcohol, methamphetamine, LSD. All that stuff can be attracted, and that's why we then have a greater, maybe, propensity for having drug addiction, or certain kinds of drug addiction than others, because the melanin is absorbing so much that it's causing your body to now be impacted on a greater level. So the addiction may hit us differently. I remember reading a book called Bloods, an oral history of black Vietnam veterans. And the brother Wallace Terry wrote the book talking about the brothers who in the war, they've taken, downers, they smoke marijuana or things that bring them down. White people taking uppers, they get revved up in height on the same experience. So when you look at it on that level of then, because the Vietnam War created a lot of drug problems too. You look at then what we succumb to and the impacts. We don't really do methamphetamine. That's a white people thing. We don't do designer drugs. That's a white people thing. We might start doing, because we do everything white people do. But the issue of the impact of the drugs don't necessarily impact or affects us the same way. Is this my water here?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that why crack cocaine is so devastating to African women?
You're asking me why, or you're stating that? Yeah, you can state it clearly. And you look at the time period that crack came out. That was like late 70s, 80s. 80s when we talk about black people trying to get together. We talk about what hip-hop music, Stop the Power, hip-hop music, Public Enemy. You start talking about what? KRS-One, you start talking about all the knowledge kicking, and then the crack come out of where?
68, it was heroin.
After the Vietnam War?
It was heroin.
So there's a book called Pipe Dream Blues by Clarence Lucene. It talks about the whole reality of what happened during the Reagan, Bush years, the so-called war on drugs. Nancy was her name, Reagan, just say no. It was deep. Y'all saw that movie, American Gangster, what? Brother who brought so-called drugs from another part of the world,
Frank Lucas.
in coffins and body corpses, like the government didn't know.
They were mad that they didn't have control of it. They said, Melanin did this?
Pipe Dream Blues. He breaks down the whole scenario of the Iran-Contra affair, Reagan, Bush, and how they really set up a scenario where drugs were easily infiltrated during a time period. We had people doing some things. You see where we went from there. The crack cocaine epidemic killed us. Origins. Again, back to that question of asking people, where are you from? How were you created? What's your origin? I think black people have no problem saying, it ain't Scandinavia, is it? Ireland? Australia, maybe? What's your origin? What's stamped on your back in your DNA? Africa. No question. So, that means you're the first human beings. So the first human being is called Homo sapiens, but we know about that pretty much 160,000 years ago. But guess what? We got way beyond that. I don't know if you ever heard of Lucilla. 3.5 million years ago, Australopithecus, they call her. They call her Lucy. They call her Lucilla. That's 3.
She's here.
She's there? What? On display?
Yeah.
Now?
The Cleveland Museum of Natural History.
Wow.
3.5 million years ago was one of the first fossil lines that said led to us being humans. Had bipedalism in terms of walking on 2 feet, kind of short. 3.5 million years ago. You now move up to 1.5 million years ago, no, 2.5. Homo habilis. Another fossil line that led to our human line. Homo habilis. Habilis was dealt with tools, making things. So they found tools in this fossil line, so they now named it Homo habilis. Moved from Homo habilis to Homo erectus. They called it Homo erectus not because it stood up straight, no, because it was the first fossil line that left Africa. 1.5 million years ago to about 400,000 years ago is where we had Homo erectus. Homo erectus fossil line. Homo erectus because it left Africa. That means everything before that was what? African. So as it left Africa, Europeans are now battling with the whole origin hypothesis. They say there's a multi-regional hypothesis. They say there's the outer Africa hypothesis. The outer Africa hypothesis focuses on science, mitochondrial DNA studies. Sperm, egg come together, sperm falls off, mitochondria stays with the egg. So you can look at the genes in the mitochondria and study where things came from. And everything goes right smack dab in the middle of Africa with a black woman. That's the mitochondrial DNA hypothesis or the outer Africa hypothesis. The other one's the multi-regional hypothesis. Well, you know, yeah, we all came from Africa, but see, we developed over here. That's white people developed. For Asians, they developed over here, but kind of distanced themselves from Africa as the connection. The point is, they all came from African people, so we're all African on the planet. We're all humans. There's no race. Race is a sociological concept, so now you're dealing with the issue of studying this. So, quickly, area of origin, can't deny that, middle of Africa. So people spread both ways. You got 100,000 years ago, it says arrived in the Middle East. 45 to 50,000 years ago, it says Asia, and they say he crossed the Bering Strait probably over here to get to Americas and came down and that populated the South American region. So there's some patterning, and there's some studies you can look at on National Geographic where they have the genes that are mapped, and they now know that people who traveled here and the pathways that went. I'm sure you've heard of Indus Valley civilization. Where Brother Wayne Chandler's talked about Indus Valley, that's right over here. So it's like going around the corner from Africa, going around the block. You know, over here in India, another continent, building civilizations. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, documented evidence of us as black people in those places. So the genes can be mapped to say where people were, what were their originated. So that Homo erectus becomes not problematic, but as we left Africa, things happened, things changed. Ice ages occur. 1.75 million years ago was the last ice age. It ended 12,000 years ago. 1.75 million years ago, ice age, it ended 12,000 years ago. That's a long time supposed to be stuck in ice. That's a whole time, a lot of time for melanated people to be stuck in ice. That means you might have to change your color. You can't be black living in a place where the sun is shining. So there's some alterations, some changes. So we now have some changed lines that exist from Homo erectus to our other lines of making us who we are today. And some of those names are Cro-Magnon man, Cro-Magnon or Grimaldi man. So those are now the derivatives, the small interchangeable lines that lead to them making who we are as Homo sapiens today. Cheikh Anta Diop was the one who popularized us understanding about Grimaldi man. There in France, in the caves, in these fossils, they had rickets. What's rickets? A bone deformity coming from a lack of vitamin D. Where's vitamin D coming from? Without the sunshine, without that getting to the skin and the melanin absorbing that, rickets. Lack of calcium, lack of vitamin D problems. So that means those black people live in those areas, stuck in the ice. In order to adapt, what must you do? Turn white. Over time, you change. So when you ask your white teachers, students. Where do white people come from? See the followers of that. Well, it came from black people. It's that simple. Because you cannot make black people from white people.
Right.
It's nearly impossible to make any colored people from white people. You can't do it. So we don't need to have any more discussions on this. We look forward. Critical consciousness. This is something important because I'm now coming back to this issue of the mindset. I got some time. Y'all working with me?
Yes, absolutely.
Critical consciousness. Who's that right there? Colin Powell, 2010. He kind of, resigned from the Bush administration to now move to private life after jacking up African countries like invading Somalia and invading Grenada, and the list goes on. It's interesting when you got black people in power in the places that we do, the things we do. It's interesting when you got black people in power and the places that you do and the things you do. The only president that ever invaded Africa was who? Obama. And kill a president was who? Obama. That's right.
But can you read what about Obama? He's not the power behind that.
No, the point I'm making is the people who put in power. Right, that's the point I'm making. The people that then are put in power, you now see the things that people can get away with. So Colin Powell was pretty much like not pawn in the game, but he was a person that really was in the position to now not do right and justice to the African people worldwide. That's the point I'm making. There's no reason we should have been able to Libya, handling business in Libya, killing their president. That's not our business. We ain't in Syria doing it right now. That man is doing much worse than what Gaddafi did. So give me some mess about, well, he was a bad man. That's Africa, black people. Libya was working with African people. Go read the documents on the something called the Green Book that he was writing about creating the United States of Africa, black people. Y'all ain't even listen to me. Y'all ain't even hear what I'm saying. This man was creating and trying, and we're going to go kill him? So we have to look at, again, putting people in power to do the justice. Well, look what Colin Powell said. He's in Bunce Island off of Sierra Leone. So he's traveling. He's saying, look, I am an American, but today I am something more. I am an African too. I feel my roots here in this continent. That's former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell after visiting the island. That's beautiful, actually. I'm proud of him to feel that way. But he ain't in the limelight anymore, is he?
No.
You don't hear nothing about that being said on ABC News, do you? It ain't on CBS, NBC at 7 o'clock, is it? That's in some obscure magazine that I can't even tell you where it came. So, critical consciousness. Well, was he like that when he was in college? And it's like Batman and Batwoman. Who's the Batwoman? Condoleezza Rice. Another strange character that was created to do what she did. So white skin, black mind. What the world learned about Africa from Basil Davis. A white man telling you about your history. Not the first. Godfrey Higgins, picking eucalyptus. Gerald Massey, I think ancient Egypt like the world. Count Boney, I believe Ruins of Empire. Ain't the first white man to tell you about the history. So the issue we're making here about consciousness, how is a white man in white skin gonna have a black mind? Herodotus. Herodotus, well, we gotta check Herodotus. They call him the father of history. But, that's an interesting concept. Here we're in the Black Studies Department here at Cleveland State University. And there are real Black Studies Department. They ain't dealing with multicultural issues. One person named Mary Lefkowitz out of Wellesley College wrote a book called Not Out of Africa. So this white woman who's written a book called Not Out of Africa with a picture of Socrates in the front with a Malcolm X cap talks about how black history came to be used as myth to teach history. So that's a white woman talking about your history like, I don't really know what you're talking about. So in the midst of her saying that, well, see Herodotus, and you mentioned Herodotus? So as she's mentioning Herodotus, well, he didn't really know what he was saying back then. So now you have somebody contemporary going back to interpret what the people said who were living during the time period. It's not even critical consciousness. She's not a historian? No. And never been to Africa, as far as I know.
She never been.
She was debating with, what is it?
John Henry Clark.
Tony Martin.
Tony Martin, and then she had never been to Africa. Yes, sir.
She also debated Martin Bernard
When you wrote the book Black Athena, she tried to, her and some other European.
And Martin Bernal wrote Afro-Asiatic, Black Athena, Afro-Asiatic roots of ancient Greece. So when he wrote that book out, he's like, look, this is it. And then they checked him in the media. He's like, well, so he changed a little bit. They wrote Black Athena too, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if he compromised his story, but again, his white colleagues like pull him aside. You can't be talking like that. You can't say that Greek history was some stolen African stuff. You can't be saying like that. George James, got killed for saying that. Who did? George James got killed for saying that. That's why he wrote Stolen Legacy. He got killed for saying that. That's why I'm saying, what is this issue of blackness? What is the meaning of blackness? What is your conscience? Are you scared to be on Lynn Hampton's show? Are you scared to talk on the 300 degrees truth of power? Are you scared to say something? Some people compromise their integrity because they don't want to deal with issues that are real. So we deal with the issue of conscience. And I'm mentioning this now because the issue of either black, white man dealing with black issues, so we can't be getting to the black-white thing like because you're white, you don't have any knowledge. Because you're black, you got something because you know that ain't the case. Consciousness becomes key and critical. Consciousness becomes key and critical. So that's Basil Davidson right there. That's Basil Davidson. He's the white man that's written history books to tell you about your history. It's not like he's the only one, like I said, and it's not like only white people have done it. We have black people written down history books. You don't know that. But that's Basil Davidson. On your right side, that is a Kenyan official. When I say Kenyan, that means in the African continent, in the country called Kenya. Wearing a white wig because they are, what do you say, they were colonized by the British, so their legal system is still focused on the British Empire, so they wear what? White wigs, not the wigs, white wigs. Consciousness. So not to talk bad about any of our African colleagues, but the reality is that we do sometimes know more about Africa than they know about their own continent. Because really it's all of our home. But it's the issue, have you been colonized? And what is your consciousness? Because you've been in Gabon, you've been colonized by the French. You've been in Nigeria, you've been colonized by the British. You've been in, let's say, Mozambique, you've been colonized by the Portuguese. So that means all those different places have a different what? Consciousness. We need a critical consciousness to deal with what we're working on today. So Basil Davidson, the African history, before Davidson, the African history that was available to schools and universities both in Africa and abroad was mostly about when Europeans first came to Africa, what they did, and the allegedly benign changes they wrought in the lives of the savage natives. That's not a picture of Davidson, that's a picture of a Russian official, I think Medvedev, there in Africa. But you're not looking at the white man. Look at the black man. Don't look at the white man. Look at the black man. Don't get disconnected by the white man. They're looking at walking there in Africa. Look at the black man. Anybody see the black man in the image? They're still standing from what? Probably more than 10,000 years ago. Because they say the Sphinx is older than the pyramids. Yes. That's the black man. In the middle of Africa, still there. So when we deal with the issue of critical consciousness, you see the nose knocked off. So there is, I can't say if it's definitive. Others may be able to state from what they read or know, but they say Napoleon took 21 shots with his cannon and knocked them out. So they say. So that's where when a soldier falls, they look is a 21 guns.
21 guns.
It's history. That's history, but look how history has impacted us today with the concept and the thought pattern stated by Napoleon. My decision to destroy the authority of the blacks in Haiti is based on the need to block forever the march of blacks in the world. Napoleon, God damn it. Who said that? God damn it. I'm trying to be mad but not get like that black man thing, you know? Black people just so emotional. They get so hype on that. Hey, this man told you what he was going to do and did it. So who on the right side? My right side, your left side, who's that? Black people. Toussaint Overture. Sold us out. But he fought. When I say sold us out, he compromised. But he fought. But because of the Haitians, created a situation, guess what? We can fight back too. There's a certain, in the Western Hemisphere, to fight against a fight and win against a major superpowers, right? Didn't even have a navy, but kick butt. God damn. Haiti, on the other side of the Dominican Republic. We talked about traveling to the Dominican Republic and how beautiful it is on the side of the Dominican Republic. Go to Haiti today, kick butt. What did he say? You need to block forever. Y'all don't understand this until you go and see the devastation of a people who are proud, who helped America.
Yep.
Wasn't no damn Louisiana Purchase.
Nope.
Napoleon said, I give up. Y'all can have that land. I'm going back to France. So they gave the rest of the United States to what? America. Because the Haitians kicked ASS. So America benefited from that. He wasn't allowing them to grow their own rice.
Yes.
Right.
He wasn't allowed, and now you're the ambassador after the earthquake to help the country out. Y'all been hoodwinked.
He took Australia, like you know about it.
Y'all been hoodwinked. We still been hoodwinked. We hoodwinked here, but now we still hoodwinked. We got the chains on us right here from the neck on down, but guess what? Now we got the chains from the neck on up. Mental enslavement, mental liberation is what we need. So we're in a position where when we were made slaves like this, you know darn well they couldn't keep your history intact. How you gonna have a talking tool with history? No, you just need to plow that field. You just pick that cotton. You just bale that hay. Don't think. I want to tell you about yourself, and I want you to just do what I want you to do. So you take that away, guess what? Your consciousness changes. Does it speed it up?
No.
Oh, I thought you
No,
wanted
I'm
to
doing
speed it up.
peppermint. I'm doing peppermint thing.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying
No, bro.
because this part right here, we don't study this. I don't know any schools, any degrees on slavery. I don't know no classes. There could be something few here and there on slavery. But that means a lot, because that means you ain't studying what created who we are. We're in a situation where we just think we just jigaboos on the corner drinking 40 now. We ain't got no history. We ain't got no culture. We ain't got nothing, no heritage. I'm supposed to be happy about that? No, I'm pained by that. Because what I see in my community is because of that. People don't know self. You don't know what you've done in the past. Guess what? You do whatever anybody else tells you to do. So we now in a situation where we really still are bound. They took those shackles off because they had us from here on up. So we now need to go through the black hole. The black hole is a place where you get sucked in, guess what? Your whole consciousness changes. Time stops, black people. So they got something in the universe called, not they, the creator created something out there in the universe called black holes. I keep saying they like white people created all this. They ain't created none of this. The creator created this. In the beginning was the word. He said, let this all manifest. And maybe made us come up to Cleveland State University. After the what? Was it the 360 degrees of truth show? The creator created this. To say, I want them to go to Cleveland State University, start talking about these things, go through that black hole, boom, make a change. Because we're the ones that are going to do that. I know you can't wait on white people to tell you about your history. Although Basil Davis and people like that have done it, but how do you expect people who oppress you to now teach you right? Steve Biko gave you the words. Remember Steve Biko from South Africa?
Yeah.
Right. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressors is the mind of the oppressed. Steve Biko said that. I mean, guess what? They jacked him, well, he's going to. But we can't get fearful because someone lost their life for not saying the right thing. No, we need to be fearful of people not protecting those who are fighting for you. So Brother Hampton's putting on a program, you need to protect him from what? Whatever elements may be coming. We need to protect one another from trying to get this information, get this knowledge. Not keep dogging people out. So we need to have a mind-boggling experience to deal with this issue of the black hole. So in science, make this quick, it says what is in our universe. Again, all that's in purple, the dark purple and the light purple, that's the dark energy and the dark matter I was talking about earlier. Right here, this is about 23% dark matter in the light purple. In the dark purple there, it's the dark energy, and then again, the small stuff here, like in the blue, that's the stars and things. So the universe is made up primarily of this dark stuff. So the issue of the black holes are like these vortexes of energy. They're like really the center of the universe. Or for us, our galaxy is the spiral galaxy, and the center of the galaxy is a black hole. So when universes merge, energy, I mean, supernovas, this explosions, I mean, massive stuff happens out there. When people come together from all walks of life, come from Pittsburgh, come to Cleveland, bam, stuff happens. Put on a video DVD, now you show it to the rest of the world, wow, the whole environment now has changed. So basically, when you go through that black hole, it says there's a change, things stop, things slow down. You see movies like Event Horizon? Yes. So Europeans have created movies that deal with this context of what happens when you reach a stage where you're sucked in and then you move to another level, like going down a wormhole. I don't know if you ever saw a movie called What the Bleak Did We Know? Yes.
Yeah.
But that's Europeans now discussing their concepts, discussing our concepts from their viewpoint. You see, this whole issue, when you hear New Age means white people now figured it out too. See, because it's nothing new. So they now come up with some new concepts to explain to you that this is what we think now they really meant about these terms. So, granular unified field theory, chaos theory, all these terms dealing with, guess what? We now realize that everything's connected. You know, Europeans split things up. No, you know biology. Oh, you just study math. Oh, you're English. Oh, you just study history. Nah, it's all connected. Did you see how we built the pyramids? That's science and history all in one. There's documentation on them pyramids. There's science behind how, as read John G. Jackson's book, Man, God, Civilization, those pyramids were built in a way that it's like on the place where it's the heaviest mass on the earth. Positioned in a way that, again, there's some science to that. If you look at the way that the base calculated with the height, it comes out to 3.14, which is what? High in science. On that grand scheme level, they understood that. So history and science, all that goes hand in hand. So from the macrocosm, which is out there in the big world, to the microcosm in our bodies, we will describe the source, synthesis, chemistry, mechanism of secretion, control, secretion, circulation, and metabolism of ancient molecules. We will start with the vehicle that assists us with travel, and that is what? Human brain. So, for those that know, the brain has like gray matter and white matter. The gray matter are your cells that are giving you the opportunity for communication. The white matter is the tracks that allow information to go to other parts of the brain. So here we have deep in the center of the brain, something called the pineal gland. For those that are on this side, the pineal gland is deep in the center of the brain. So the pineal gland is not a bilaterally symmetrical organ. So here we have the left side of the brain, right side of the brain. If you slice it in the middle, you look at it, you can see some images on both sides. Or the pineal gland is like one organ. It's not like two separate. So given that the pineal gland has a particular role to play in the brain to what maybe moves to a higher state of consciousness. So it may be the place where I see the brother got that third eye on your shirt right there. So that third eye is not related just to the pineal gland, it's really a representation of the brain itself that our ancients were looking at, and that's why they created the third eye. The third eye relates to what? Intuition, inner vision, a sight that some people can't see, a spirituality that some black women master. So the pineal gland becomes a very important organ that needs to be nourished properly and also taken care of. So again, for images of the brain, just making sure people know that we can now label some of these areas, some of these parts. You got a hindbrain, a midbrain, and a forebrain, depending upon which part of the brain, depends upon what aspect of behavior you're talking about. In the hindbrain, which most animals have, a hind, it's like the beginning part. It's like, because most animals on a small level, what we normally do for a living, just, I'm going to say walk, talk, because animals walk, never talk. Eat and feed. Eat and feed and breathe. Eat, feed, and breathe, and procreate. Okay, well, procreate, okay, we'll go over that. Eat, feed, breathe, procreate. Eat, feed, animal. What do you think about God? About going to the club today? Do you think about these other things? You pontificate reality, so that's where our then bigger brains come from. So this cortex and the cerebrum are what give us then advantages over the lower animals that just have that hindbrain. In the midbrain, in the middle part right there, sectioned off right there, who's on that side, midbrain. That contains some cells that are darkly pigmented. So there's a whole brain stem. And you see on the video I did last year, I have a picture of a banana, and inside the banana you have little dots It looks like just like the brain stem. Those little dots are melanated cells, and they're also the places where neurotransmitters are created. As those melanated cells are becoming dark and make the chemicals, they make you what? Think. And also maybe take you to another state of consciousness. Because that's the question, then what is consciousness? So your neuron is the basic cell of your brain. Your neuron has a receiving portion and has a transmitting portion. The receiving portion is called your dendrites. It's like a tree. So the receiving portion is called your dendrites, the transmitting portion is called your axons. Melanin is around those places in the cells to make that electricity work fast. So melanin is a dark substance absorbing the chemical properties to make the electricity flow better. This stuff around here is called myelin. It's like a covering. It's like around the cord, the insulation. You heard of a disease called multiple sclerosis? That results from the deterioration of the myelin around the cell. So myelin and melanin are different. But both of them help out with what? Conduction. So myelin, here's the green stuff. Inside the red is the actual axon. Without that covering, the cells, the firing is slow. If it's really disruptive, then it's kind of uncoordinated in your movement, so that's why it can be problematic. So in the cell, you have the DNA. DNA is a spiral. That's your genetic imprint for what your whole body is going to look like. Your whole consciousness will be. Guess what? Africans studied it too. Wow. It says, those who carry the intertwined double cord from which the stars come out, thus are designated the 12 persons who extract the double cord from the mouth of Akan. Knowing that at each hour a star is born, we can understand the rest of the text, which says that at each new twist an hour is born. Then after the passage of the great nectar, Akan reswallows the cord, thus making time go backwards. Book of Gates, fifth division. They didn't have no microscope to look at DNA. They didn't have no telescope to see the spiral Milky Way. They had some kind of intelligence that said something. They had some kind of conscience that said something. So they had documentation that they were exploring the same things we're trying to conceptualize right now. They already knew. It's kind of a busy slide here, just showing that here's a melanocyte. Melanocyte. Anytime you hear a cyte on the end of a word, it's a cell. Oocyte, egg cell. Spermocyte, sperm cell. So melanocyte is the cell that produces the melanin. So you have some mechanisms that occur that on the outside, if the receptors touch, these mechanisms occur inside to make what your body needs to what? Create more melanin. So you have now a chemical, physiological connection to how the sun can make your body now react. So terms to remember. Melanin, we already said that's a complex biopolymer. ASE, ASD, enzymes. So tyrosinase and tyrosine hydroxylase are the enzymes that make either your neurotransmitters or they make your what? Melanin. Pro-opium melanocortin, I haven't discussed that one, but that is a large protein molecule that can be cleaved and broken up to make other chemicals. What do I mean by that? I know it's late, check this out. All these chairs connected together are one long protein. If I start splitting things up, say take the first 3 rows and half the 4th, that's one peptide. I now take this row and connect it over to here, take on the third chair, that's another peptide. Those peptides have roles to play. Opio, sounds like opium, doesn't it? Because that's where your endogenous painkillers come from. Called endorphins, you heard of that before? Endorphins. Melanin, because it has melanin in it. Cortin, it contains those chemicals that are involved in your stress hormones, like cortisol, like adrenocorticotropic stimulating hormone. So it has then those molecules that help you deal with stress. And then the last 2 I'd already mentioned. One stimulating, it makes the melanin dark. One concentrating, it helps to make the melanin aggregate so that you don't have a whole lot of it. And then melatonin. I hadn't discussed that one, but that's the one from the pineal gland. It helps to tone the skin, melatonin. It happens at nighttime. I explained this in the last lecture, but it's simple to understand. At nighttime, is your sun shining as much? So your skin lightens during nighttime to allow whatever light is out there to get in. So that's what the melatonin does at nighttime. two brain areas. One is called the substantia nigra, purple. One is called the ventral tegmentum. Contain dopamine. Anybody know what dopamine is? Neurotransmitter that helps to elevate your mood. So people take crack cocaine or any drug like amphetamine. They stimulate dopamine production. A person who's schizophrenic, too much dopamine. So any chemicals that stimulating your sensations, more than likely what stimulates dopamine. So the area that's coming from here that makes it here, and this red line projecting up the front of the brain, that's the mesolimbic pathway, the pathway associated with drug addiction, or just your pleasurable feelings, emotions. This one, in purple with the dot going up to the middle part of the brain, that's the substantia nigra, or the nigrostriatal pathway. That's the one that alters your mood. As much as I've stated about diseases and disorders, like Parkinson's disease, which is a neurodegenerative disorder, like the brain cells dying, imagine what happens if they work better. You'd be slamming basketballs like backwards. You'd be moonwalking like, how do you do that? You'd be like doing stuff that we like, wow, that dude was just so rhythmic. That comes from somewhere, people. It comes from the brain doing that. You can't be rhythmic without your brain functioning in the proper manner. So again, those cells that are deep in the brain, those cells are melanated. So those are the neuromelanin tracts. Those are the places where the chemicals are being released. If they're not working properly, again, you're going to have some mental disturbances. The pineal gland, dead center. This is just a busy slide showing the chemical pathways that are going in some of those areas that shows you, one for norepinephrine, the other for serotonin. Letting you see how complex it is to study the brain. It's like studying a nuclear power plant in the brain. So it's not really hard unless you study it, but nothing's really that hard unless you study it. What I'm trying to say is that we run from science. Y'all know how it is. We run from science because we think it's hard. So if you take your time, spend your time. We were original scientists. You heard of Imhotep? About Herodotus. You heard of Imhotep? Yes. Scientist, priest, architect, builder, philosopher. He created all that.
So if you go back to the pituitary gland, when you say that us as melanated people, that we should try to make sure we eat enough food to feed the pituitary gland.
Pituitary or pineal?
I mean the pineal gland, I'm sorry. The pineal gland, as well as support the pituitary gland.
Yes, we certainly.
That'll help us with a lot of our attitudes. Maybe we'll have a different side of our attitude towards each other.
Yes.
And all that.
So we know that beta-carboline, there's a book called DMT, the spirit molecule, by I think Robert Strassman, that discusses how there's chemicals there in the pineal gland that have an impact on, again, consciousness. So there are certain food items. I mean, we know about mushrooms. You ever seen a mushroom and it does some dark stuff to it? That's pigment, that's melanin. They say mushrooms can give you some effects. You got peyote, mescaline, stuff from cactus. You got certain items in the environment that certainly can help out and stimulate, but just on a natural level, most of us deal with pigments. What food items have pigments? Fruits and berries, people. That's right. We chop on turkey, chicken, and Bojangles and stuff like that, and basically, that meat is like dead in our consciousness. So on a grand level, yes, those pigmented foods are going to have a great impact on pigmented cells. It really is that simple. So your science is simple, isn't it?
Man.
So these are some cells that I actually labeled in my lab using hamsters, not human brain, hamsters. So the dark cells there are the substantia nigra. Dark cells here are the locus ceruleus. These produce norepinephrine, those produce dopamine. So again, we can study this in the lab. We just don't take it to the level of appreciating it. I like this because it really shows a neuron. I'm labeling tyrosine hydroxylase. That's the enzyme that makes your neurotransmitters. So I'm labeling it, here's your neuron, you got your axon, your dendrites coming off of it. I just thought it was evil, but I did. It is. So melanin functioning. In your notes, just remember three main things. It functions as an antioxidant. Antioxidant, that means it prevents the cells from looking old, prevents the damaging cells from things like free radicals, toxic substances.
Is that as in good black, don't crack?
That's why you're like, you're too young to know all that stuff.
It's a polymer.
Yeah,
Plastic.
that's, okay, that's actually how it's working then.
It's a plastic.
To fight off the destruction of the cells, so we don't have to do Botox injections. What else do they do? For skin? Oh, collagen injections. What else they do? Saline injections? Saline, you said? So they do a whole lot of stuff. It probably ain't good. Because you know what Botox is? It's actually injecting botulism toxin into the cells to stop them from the rest of their development so their skin will wrinkle. That's how bad people will go to try to look black. People also took melatonin tablets because they say that helps to what, keep you looking young and fit. Yes.
They have injections now.
They said it took them bovine cows. Probably know some cows. So the whole issue again of the skin, we don't really appreciate the beauty of what melanin is. We're running from it, and that's not a good thing. So antioxidant, again, prevents the destruction of cells, internal and external. Nerve conductor facilitator, it helps the nerve impulse roll faster. So again, you rub your hands together, draws heat. Well, basically, the capacitance, the things I've discussed earlier, the whole issue of conduction. So the issue of melanin serving as a black substance in those cells, it helps the nerve impulses go quicker and faster. And again, that's why you have better psychomotor skill development. Brother Amos Wilson wrote a book, the Developmental Psychology of the Black Child. Wrote that in 1976, and we still don't have schools that teach black psychology. Talk about how our kids grow and move differently, and not like Piaget's kids, who most psychology is based on white kids. So my first child came out the womb looking up. They said, baby, that limp is. He came out looking up. All my children came out looking up. All my kids walked at 10 months. They say kids don't walk at 11, 12 months. Not our kids. We dealing with psychomotor development. Didn't I tell you that melon's the very early stage of development? The cranial neural tube, you don't have it, guess what? Your nervous system's not going to develop properly. That's science, folks. That's not racist. That's not saying that, oh, you think black is superior. I didn't say that either. Anybody ever heard the word superior today? But see, they'll misconstrue the words, or you think you're better. I ain't say that either. I'm just talking about the way that the body's built. You got a Volkswagen, we got a Lexus. So what? It's still a car, right? Energy transformer. That's the one that's more difficult to conceptualize. Energy transformer. Because everywhere you find melanin in the body, it's helping to transform energy from the outside to something the body can use. I already gave you one example with light, correct? Because you see the photons of energy out there. You see the light, but how does your brain interpret it? Somewhere in the brain, the eyeball to the brain, that happens, converts it. The ear, there's something called inner ear melanin. So how do we absorb sound? By vibrations. Vibrations are what? Sound vibrations. So the ear mechanism is constructed to pick that up. So without inner ear melanin, you're going to have some problems. Some people have ototoxic effects, ototoxic from taking drugs. You may be taking something like penicillin or something, I don't know, problem you have, you now got vertigo, all dizzy. So that's a problem because the melanin is absorbing those chemicals. So again, vision and the hearing are easy ways to talk about energy transformation, because I don't know how to really talk about spirituality. Talk about the skin, which means the largest organ in your body. So as the largest organ in your body, it's got to be what connects to the universe somehow. So the brain and the skin become what? Conceptualized entities of conductors to keep you in tune with the material spiritual connection. Yes.
You said something about hearing. Was it auto?
O-T-O, opto, toxic, T-O-I-X, meaning that there's some drugs that can latch onto that melanin in the ear and really cause some problems. So examples are when people may have vertigo from maybe taking something. So why is vertigo connected to the ear? Because guess what? The ear mechanism is connected to your balance. It's cranial nerve 8, but it's called the vestibulocochlear nerve. Vestibular because it deals with balance, and cochlear because it deals with hearing. So any drug that may impact that area of the brain may then offset your balance. So again, an energy transformer, and that takes us to the part about spirituality and consciousness that I try to include here. Pigment power, that's what I was talking about the last time. I think pigment power, or pigment politics.
Yeah.
Pigment politics, and here I'm just expressing to you that in the berries, like raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, those berries, grapes, strawberries. They contain pigments that are very good natural antioxidants that you consume. But your melanin in your body serves as a natural antioxidants already there for you. So they have been shown to help out with cancer and tumors, reducing tumors. In brief, this is a cell, and on the other side you see the same thing. Here's a space between the cell. The space between two neurons is called a synapse. S-Y-N-A-P-S-E, synapse. That's the space between cells. You all here tonight, there may be a new word you learned. Brother asked about octotoxics, and you wrote that down, so now you gotta remember what that means. Guess what? Something changed in your brain to remember that. What changes? The synapse. Chemicals are released. I want to remember this. I'm going to say it again. A chemical is released, maybe like glutamate. I told you earlier, glutamate is an excitatory substance. Some people go to deep Chinese food and they can't eat. It says no MSG in the food, but that means no monosodium glutamate. Because glutamate gives some people headaches. It's stimulatory, excitatory. So guess what? That's probably what's going to make you remember something right now, but those chemicals are being released, as you see in this one right here with these little pink.
Yes, for holes in the
Yes.
brain.
In that last slide, it said that 60 to 80% reduce tumors in rats.
Yeah, that's what they studied it first.
Was it true?
Mm-hmm. Also, they talked about blueberries helping out with psychomotor development in rats and helped out with cognitive and motor abilities in rats, blueberries. So yeah, that's what science does. Show that these things are real. Amos Wilson wrote a book called The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child. Wrote it in 1976, old school book. So I'm showing this because on here is the neuron. Right here is your skin cell. Not skin cell, but the melanocyte that makes your melanin. It looks just like your neuron in your brain. I think it's pretty deep as a neuroscientist. People talk about melanin being a hormone because it can be secreted. Guess what? When the sun shines, you get dark. Something's being secreted. I don't know why we can't call it a hormone. That's here externally on our body, but what's it maybe doing inside the brain? Could it possibly be released during certain time periods to enhance consciousness? Yes.
They tell folks to stay out of the sun because of the cancer causing. Black folks eating correctly, can we go in the sun?
Well, we certainly can get skin cancer also, but the point is our melanin helps to protect us against something that's natural. The sun is there every day. Thank goodness. Some people don't like that every day. So for us, it's a good thing. The point is, there may be a reason why we as black men suffer from prostate cancer a lot in this environment because we're not getting enough sun that we need, combined with a poor diet. So yeah, all that goes hand in hand. But we can't be in the same position of running from something that's deadly to somebody else.
Right.
It may be an enemy to somebody, but the sun is a friend to us.
That's right, that's right.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on prostate cancer since it's so prevalent?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that we as African men, living here in the United States, seem to suffer from prostate cancer more than other ethnic groups. On a world scheme, also, brothers on the continent don't necessarily develop prostate cancer like we do. So that means the diet must be impacted, must be an influence, and also then living in the United States where the sun's not shining as much anymore, meaning we're not getting enough vitamin D, which serves as a immune blocker, enhancing your immune system. So when you think about in the winter months you're consuming cod liver oil containing vitamin D, you do it in the winter months to boost what you're losing. So on a health level, what we consume, which may be bad, and then not getting enough light is probably a horrendous condition to why we suffer from that more so than others. Two questions, yes.
That's why when I just said what he said, but when you talk about the continent, its own, the Midwestern region where we are, Michigan and Ohio is a salt belt, period. And this is why the cancer rate is picked up so bad here, and because also of the meat in content. And that was a study that was done by a gentleman in Chicago when he came to Cleveland, a European. And I was in the seminar. So when you look at it, and I did some study on the Japanese stuff, and you look at them, and their hair is so black, it's not great. Their cancer rate is not bad because they're doing a lot of sea vegetables. And the problem here is because we don't eat our food in our area, And when it comes here on those trucks, it's a different color. It's sitting in a storage room with a lamp. And time it processes and we get it, we're sick. We won't go to the area or grow our own. And that's what, you know, the biggest thing here that people should be looking at. Definitely get some sea vegetables in their diet to slow the cancer down. Definitely.
Spoken like a true medical doctor. Question? Okay.
Well, given that, is the incident of prostate cancer less in the South, where there's more sun,
It's
as
diet.
opposed to
Diet.
other areas?
No, you got
The epidemiological spread of prostate cancer is evenly distributed throughout the 48 continental states.
Amongst all men or amongst black men?
Amongst wherever black men are,
Mhm.
wherever they are, they have the highest incidence. And it's the same wherever they are.
So there's a whole host of things. I'm saying the diet is probably one of the more critical ones that we don't pay attention to, but that we have the most control over.
My wife was just diagnosed with vertigo. Is this something that coming on with age or?
No, not age.
You mentioned medication
Right.
may have brought it on.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's something called acute labyrinthitis. Got a whole lot of doctors in here. Acute labyrinthitis is the same thing as, again, what vertigo produces, and it's caused that is an inflammation. Sometimes in the ear area, maybe from some medication that could be consumed.
That's where I was going. You just called it. The ear area. The mastoid gland should be looked at. The mastoid gland. They don't mess with it too much. And the only way to really work on the mastoid gland probably be ear cannuling and using a couple of powerful essential oils, because I've done it already.
So natural treatments then. But what could have exacerbated it certainly is maybe taking some medicine. And people, because sometimes it just happens out of the blue. You know, you woke up dizzy or
Yeah.
And again, things that you can consume. There could be some fungus you ate out the refrigerator.
Candida.
So a whole host of things. So yeah, we have a lot of control over also not allowing it to impact us. Let me move forward to talk here about again the body. They say that only the sun can darken the skin, but here you have a woman about to give birth and you have on a belly button the navel area becoming dark, the line going down to the vaginal area. So you just call it the lifeline. They call it the linea nigra because of the black line, but they call it the lifeline. From a woman's perspective, what does lifeline mean to you?
Just the infinite power passing on to your child.
We can't hear you, so repeat that back to you. I want to hear that.
The infinite power passing to your child.
Infinite powers. Dang, a woman, I could have never said that. And the woman is the power pack that we really don't pay attention to. If you take care of the woman, treat the woman right, your society is right. If you don't allow the woman to grow and be who she is, guess what? Your society is jacked up. That's why it's not so much Barack Obama, it's Michelle Obama. He knows he's black. Over that White House.
She's from the South Side.
So if you got issues with Barack, yo, Michelle Obama, she's black.
Is that common?
Yes.
Yeah. You
In black people. I ain't hang on the maternity wards, but anybody see any Asian belly button? Anybody see any European Asian button?
Yeah.
So is that dark?
No.
Okay, my story is finished. I
They
can go on. All I'm saying is that on the left side here, what I've drawn, I think I had that one in the science of melanin. On the left side, you have the stress hormones, CRF, ACTH, going to your adrenal glands to make cortisol. That's a pathway for your stress hormone. I don't want to get too deeply involved in the names right now. All I'm making a point is, one of them's coming from the hypothalamus, one's from the pituitary, it goes to a target organ. The same thing has happened with the issue of maintaining color in your body. POMC, MZH to your skin to make melanin. Both are like being released during a time period of the body going through changes. I think that's powerful. And let me take this a little bit more powerful. It'd be nice if we had a light down on this, but check this out right here. That's 28 days, 42 days, and 49 days of a fetus development. So you can look at the stages of development and seeing the brain getting bigger. So you can look at it from the top, where you slice it from the side, or you can take it and slice it and now look at it from above. As above, as below. Check this out. The black stuff here is the cranial neural tube. So if the black is formed in the middle, the melanin, it helps the nervous system develop. So from there, the skin develops, the organs develop, you have melanocytes. All this stuff starts from the single cell, the intelligence of how the heck does it know to go to the arm? How does it know to get to the foot? How does it know to get to a certain space in the place of organ? Intelligence. Some spark created that, and melanin was the conductor to make sure the SHIT worked. It's deep stuff. So if you look at the shape of this, now you see that right there? Look at the belly button.
Oh, man.
See the shape of this right here?
This back there.
Look at the belly button. So, microcosm of the macrocosm, showing the power of, what is it, life, Justin? Infinite power. Showing you what's coming, what's about to manifest and change the world. So again, all that orange stuff is developing. Again, the nervous system is developed very early in the stage of development. I just want to highlight it and emphasize it to you because I can't go any more to explain how important it is to have melanin. If someone will tell you it's some waste product and it ain't gonna mean nothing, okay, tell them, well, you don't have to have it in it. Let's see how you grow up and develop it. There's a disease called PKU, phenylketonuria. Supposedly all babies gotta be pricked and probed to see if they got PKU. It's primarily for European babies, white babies. What happens is, if there's too much phenylalanine, it accumulates and becomes toxic to the brain. Problem. So there's some people that have a genetic disorder, it's recessive because of the change by the diet. They have this recessive disorder that causes this to accumulate too much. What's what? Causing a problem. You become mentally retarded and you become light in color. PKU. That's a very early stage of what development. So to say that melanin has nothing to do with your development, there's another disease that shows that it's very important. So here we have the brain adds about 250,000 neurons per minute during gestation. Intelligence being sparked and being guided by self-synthesis by what molecule? Melanin. Self-synthesis occurring 250,000 cells a minute. Y'all know how fast that is? Can y'all even think that fast? No. Genes might determine only the brain's main circuits, with something else shaping the trains of finer connections. Something else. Absolutely correct. I ain't gotta say it no more. Y'all already know. That something else is the environment, the myriad messages that the brain receives from the outside world and melanin. So you know you've got a baby developing, you're continually dealing with stress in your life. Guess what? You might have a stressed out baby. We didn't even talk about slavery. How the heck you gonna deliver a nice baby living under horrendous conditions? We don't even talk about it. I'm telling y'all, it's horrendous. Is that a reason why maybe we got the prostate developing so much in our society? Because our genes have been jacked up so much because we've been under stress? Hypertension, is that because we've been eating diets that have been bad, living on a damn slave ship, there ain't no food? Y'all don't understand. Genes carry on forever. To a point that it now impacts you forever. And we acting like slavery is like, oh, it just happened, now let's go on to the next topic. Y'all been in high school. We all graduate from high school where they don't want to talk about slavery. We're only black in the class to talk about slavery. And it just happened. They came here to pick the cotton. Let's go on to the next topic.
Isn't there different ways, though, that we can clean ourselves out, though? C-E-L-L?
C-E-I-L?
C-E-L-L.
Oh, clean ourselves out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm saying, because you saying we're talking about the DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about carrying from your ancestors all through, it's still the mitochondria and all this, so it's still in our body, but every cell in your body, there's a natural way to cleanse it. So can you maybe elaborate on some of the things I could suggest to my people that they could use?
All I can say on that end, because it's not simple, is that there is something called junk DNA. That is DNA that you don't even use. It's not even there. Guess what, though? There are some things that can trigger some DNA to be clicked on. So the same way that you can click on genes to work, you can also turn them genes off. Yes, that can happen. How is the big question. Because the issue is on a scientific level, we have, data that shows that people can manipulate the genes and make whatever you want. In animals, there's something called transgenic studies. If you want to study an animal that doesn't have any serotonin receptors, to study what it does to depression, you can make that. You want to study an animal that doesn't have any dopamine, so you can make it what? A constantly addicted drug addict. You can do that. So on a level of manipulation, that happens. But your thinking can impact your genes.
That's right.
If you're constantly under stress, you don't understand this. You impact the way that your cells and your organs respond, and that's what, that might be why you develop cancer, which is nothing but a genetic abnormality of your genes. So yes, you can manipulate your DNA on that level, but how you do it, music could be an issue. You know, the music you listen to, I think, is dangerous. Not you. The kids today that they listen to is dangerous. There's some music they say they can heighten your DNA, heighten your consciousness, or heighten the way that your body responds. And y'all know African people focus on the drum. The drum was a part of reality. Any country you go to today where there are African people, what is played? The drums. What did the white man do in America? Got rid of the drum. Why? Because you were communicating with the drum. When there was some slave revolts about to happen, guess what? The drum was beaten. People heard that. Guess what? Get the machete. It's time. White people got rid of the drum here. So the whole issue of music and vibration, they can also have an impact on your DNA. So again, to conclude, microelectrodes, they can be put into your brain pretty deep and start thinking about manipulating the brain on that level to control the electricity. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say we can put batteries on our head, but some of us are plugged in.
Yes.
And being plugged in, that means you are what? Potentially a puppet to the society. So if you're looking at something that's telling you a vision, 90% of your day, you're what? Consciously moving how somebody else wants you to move. So being battery operated probably ain't too far removed from where we at as people. So what I need,
Wireless now.
I see it.
is a few proud people to kind of free our minds. So what I'm going to need is that. Because as you step out of the matrix, we can maybe seek that black hole and change consciousness. Thank you.
You gotta have no questions, do you?
No.
Yeah.
All right, we take a few questions. We're gonna work this way. All right. Start on this side. Anybody? Don't be scared.
Do you suggest a vegetarian or vegan diet?
I would recommend, that's probably the most healthy to think about. Well, I would say if you're full-fledged vegetarian, which means you're nothing but fruits and vegetables. No meat, correct?
Right.
Is
Well,
it-
vegan is full-fledged.
Well-
Vegetarian still eat cheese and a little meat.
Well, the only issue about anybody choosing any of the diets is you have to look at what's important for your makeup. Some people who are either vegetarian or vegan and lack from the protein may come from certain kinds of illnesses that would not have resulted if they didn't have that kind of diet. There's something called the Honolulu studies where Asians are eating a lot of tofu, which is then not an animal-based product, but a soy-based product. So they may be healthy by not having that prostate cancer. They don't develop the same diseases, but guess what? They have a higher incidence of Alzheimer's disease. So they don't have the same level of protein that they need for the nervous system to function at a higher level. So long as we know what the brain needs needs fatty acids. Your brain is this fat. If somebody calls you fat, don't be mad. Because your brain is fat, so omega-3 fatty acids, things that are consumed in the diet, tuna, the salmon, the things that then are meat products are important. So it depends upon, again, your preference and really what your body type is. But I would certainly emphasize people eating life-producing foods from the sun versus things that are dead, things that have impact on the body.
Didn't the Egyptians use the Kephra in accordance with the brain to illuminate, to show consciousness or the illumination of the mind?
You mean the Ankh?
The Kephra, the beetle.
Well, I think they use that in general, though, as a symbolism, though, of growth and regeneration. I don't know if they use it in any other capacity beyond showing birth and rebirth. But you're asking from another level that they use it some other way?
Yeah.
No, I know the Ankh being used in that capacity. Because the Ankh is a symbol of life, but is a book by a brother named, I think, No, a brother wrote a book called Electromagnetic Light. You know his name?
I can't remember.
Well, anyway, he has documented how, you know, it's been used in that capacity to generate energy, electricity around the body. And a good example of it, I have an image of on the front cover of the book, Dark Matter, Dark Secrets. Rays coming from the sun, when it hits the skin, it looks like little hands. If you look as the rays are by the nose, it's ox. They drew this. That is, the ancients drew this. This is Akhenaten and Nefertiti on the front cover with their children, but they drew the symbols of the ox right around the place where life is brought in, breath. So in terms of that being used to generate information about the brain, that's what I would say. But the Kepler beetle is primarily used to get the symbolism of rebirth.
Okay, about protein. Okay, I'm kind of confused on the protein. Is it, does it have like a molecular structure? Is it on the elemental chart? I mean, are there compounds that are made that
yes.
would not be on the elemental because they join together and produce something in it?
Well, you wouldn't necessarily find protein as an element. If anything, it's the constituents of elements.
Explain, please.
Explain?
Please.
All these chairs together are one large protein. They're all connected by different elements. You can break those proteins down now to cleave them, C-L-E-A-V-E, cleave them to make smaller things. So those smaller things from that large protein molecule now are also important. But that large protein itself is like the building block to now make everything that is mass in your body. So the protein is this big, large molecule that has the smaller components all enmeshed in it.
So doesn't it have to have carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen,
yeah, but it doesn't exist by itself then as an element does. The carbon, all those are all the elements in it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. So all these chairs connect together in one large protein. So this one row right here is a particular aspect of that protein that has a power within itself, like ACTH, adrenocorticotropic stimulator, that affects stress. So one may be, this row right here, may be for making the skin darker. I don't say stimulating hormone, all coming in one large protein. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like one element. It is that combination of all these things together.
Just a quick couple of questions. First one, are you familiar with Dr. Russell Blaylock?
I would say no.
Okay. Second question is, do you know if it's possible to reverse the rigidity that results from Parkinson's from dietary needs?
I would encourage to consume antioxidant products, such as the berry products, such as anything that can reduce free radicals in the body. So I would say yes on that end. But anytime you're talking about destroying cells in the brain, which don't really grow back, problematic. So anything eating antioxidant compounds which contain pigments is the first line of defense.
I just had a question. My parents, when I was born, said I was really, 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 really dark. And as you can see, I'm not that way anymore. Do you know what might have happened to that melanin?
Well, I mean, are your parents from, where are your parents from?
My mom was born in Cleveland. My dad's from North Carolina, but my dad's very, 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 very fair. And my mother's really, really, really dark.
Yeah, I just look at the whole reality of again the genes, and we never look at all those scenarios of our genetic line. Because I'm sure you've heard the stories of people who are white and maybe having a black baby,
Yes.
or even the reverse scenario. So in the genes, there are sometimes things that occur that makes those enzymes either click in, turn on, and turn off. And remember that slide I showed you that had the egg and the sperm, had the DNA below it. It had some of those genes can shut off and turn off something. So there is a possibility that there is something that was able to shut off the melanin from being as strong as it was when you were first born. So genetically speaking, that's probably why that occurs. And again, I think it's so important to talk about genes can be turned on and turned off. That's some significant stuff. And most of our genes are junk DNA.
Anybody? Good?
Knowing that what we eat with our what we heat affects our melanin production and all those things, and knowing that at nighttime we're supposed to have complete darkness for our melanin to reproduce itself fully. No one tends to mention that we eat with our eyes, our nose, our ears. If you notice in projects, they don't use bright colors like Africans, they use pastels. And when you see a person on your street paint their house bright yellow, you say that brother is crazy or that sister is crazy. What do you think about the fact that one scholar, when asked what should we do after explaining all these things, he said run for the forest. Because how can we bring our melanin up to the point where it was when we built pyramids if we constantly reading these people's language, if we constantly riding down the street and seeing all white houses on each side of the street, if we constantly hearing music, no matter what music it is, it's coming from an iPhone or a radio, bad frequencies all the way around. How can we get away from this? And the only answer that this one scholar had was to run for the forest.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a conductor, they want to address it.
What he was saying that we in the middle.
Okay.
Even the knowledge that we're producing is coming from the English language.
Yeah. Now, how I respond to that, you remember that one little scene in, I think, Scary Movie? I don't know which one it was, but you gotta say, I see white people. I think it's smoking something. So see some ghosts, I see white people. So for us, there's things that we may see that others don't. There's a book by, I think, Peter Redgrave called The Black Goddess and the Unseen Real. And here this European is talking about how he feels like he's really connected to the environment on a geomagnetic level where he gets sick during certain times of the year or he just feels real sensitive. He's a white man talking about it, but he calls it the Black Goddess of the Unseen Real. So a lot of black people, we're able to experience things that others can't see. You think about John Coltrane and the so-called Blue Note, he said he was a hit. And he was before his time. His music, when he was playing John Coltrane and Saxophonist, he was like, where is he coming from? But he was hearing something and playing something that people weren't able to vibe on. So for us and our colors, we're just a colorful people. You know what I mean? Hopefully we don't become clownish, but we're just a colorful people. We like colors. And that means we're now dealing with all of our senses. The whole issue of music about breathing, we don't breathe right. You're supposed to breathe through your nose, let the diaphragm come out, because you're circulating things properly so that once you get the right energy coming into your body. The hearing also becomes, all these things deal with sensations. If you think about the music you're listening to, vibrations are everywhere. There's stuff that the kids listen to, you can't even dance to that stuff. I don't know what you call it, but it's not really music. It's a vibration sending you down to a lower level. There's a book by Raoul Neframin called Dietary, the volumes 1 and 2. It talks about something they call Saku Man, S-A-K-H-U, a man on the animal level. Most of us are on that animal level and not taken to the higher level because what we're on a vibration level is chakras, which are spiritual centers in the body, are lowered by these external sources, which means we're not dealing with the colors. We're not dealing with the food. We're not dealing with the breathing. We're not dealing with all the sensations you just mentioned. So it's not a matter of running for the hills. It's a matter of appreciating what you have. Most of us run from that. There's a large electromagnetic spectrum that exists. Visible light is the only one that they say we see. There's gamma rays, X-rays, there's infrared light, broader pass bands. Guess what? Black people respond to all that. That's why we get so many damn cancers. Think about all the places they have to live under power lines. Places where they got all these power lines. What do you see? High incidence of leukemia and other problems like that. So we respond to all those energy levels. So again, as long as we study that and appreciate that, I think we can value it.
Great talk, I enjoyed it. But I was just wondering about like the Sphinx, the Chimera, just where the Egyptians always had this image of man and animal merging as one. Is science right now going towards that direction and manipulating DNA, genes, in terms of, and we'll have what Egyptians throughout the centuries have visualized?
I would say it's a much different perspective. They look at the animals as symbols of how life should be. Actually, I wrote another book called Spider-Fly Proverbs. I did it because I was discussing the woman being a spider, the male being a fly. The whole issue of, again, looking at how they live in nature and they coexist. So it's like a practical loving relationship. That's me putting something together that parallels what our Africans did talking about just symbols. There was a reason why they had the Ankh drawn the way it was. The reason why they used the crocodile in the way it did, or the snake. So they had it for a reason. The European now is manipulating things so they can make more money off of making more pigs so they can make more pork. They're now manipulating the cows, giving them some hormones to make more milk, so they make more pus, so they can make more milk and sell it to make more. So the whole thought pattern is different than how we conceptualize the use of animals. We domesticated animals first. You know, we created agriculture. We did all that from the very beginning. So I would say we did it much differently. Right now it's used and done on a commodity basis to make money off of manipulating those animals on a genetic level. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's a merger now, the same merger that we had in the past. Now we use that, in my opinion, for a metaphorical way for us to learn about life. That's my opinion.
Yes,
I'm very, very new to this, but I have a detoxing machine. It's an alkaline water at my house. And I'm not really sure you saw my Melanin, but I just want to know, would it hurt my Melanin? Because it's detoxing the whole body. So that's a natural thing in your body, Melanin. So I just want to know.
Do you put your feet in water or anything like that?
No, yeah, well, I drink it too.
I mean, for the mechanism, do you put your feet in water? Do you do anything in particular, or you just consume something?
Okay, well, it's 5 levels. You can use it. It's 11.5, it's 2.5, 5.5, on and on. 11.5, you can't soak your feet in. And it's a strong acid water.
Yeah, it won't, no. Okay, I'll respond quickly, but have someone else maybe respond. I would say no, it would not, because anything you want to clean out the system. I mean, we got pollution right here. If you look at this, the projector that was shining, you can see the dust going right through the light. Pollution is everywhere. So given that, yeah, that's the best thing you do to detox your body, and there's different ways you can do it. So I'm not sure of yours, but I wouldn't say it had anything to do with destroying your melanin at all.
You know, when he says what he's saying, you talk about the water. Alkaline water is good, but there's been proof that people that do too much alkalinity, and I do the pH balancing with the urine and saliva testing, you can still die from cancer. So I tell everybody, still follow what Dick Gravy did. Distilled water, room temperature with lemon. That was his Bohemian diet. We have stuff, as he mentioned, about our history. That was done way back in the 70s, and man made a mint, and they took it from him, got rid of his chemist, and where his stuff came from. So that had to fall off. So what I'm saying is, new things come, as he said, as things come, we gravitate to that. But we forget in which how we were taught. So I'm saying, if you're doing, that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I would do half and half. Other than that, you still will alter your body's cells, and you can still bring sickness to yourself.
Okay.
All right, bro.
The name of that, or the Ankh book is written by Neurology.
Yeah, Neurology. Thanks, brother, man. I confused it because there's a book called The Meaning of Blackness by Ner. I am Ner. That would mess the names up, but I am Ner with Meaning of Blackness. And the brother, what's his name again? Neurology wrote the book called The Ankh.
Well, bro, I just have to bring this, you know, because we're dealing with all these, the violence today and the music that's being playing and how the average person is listening to that music, this is their action. Now, what part of the brain are you saying that affects for this part of them to come out? You know what I mean? They're hearing this music, they're digesting the words that's to it. And in my opinion, all they're doing is being programmed because these are their everyday actions, the language and so on and so forth. Now, what part of that, part of the psyche or the brain is that?
The limbic system. Limbic system means a border of cells that deals with the emotions. So the emotions are being impacted. Because what happens is, any vibration can really stimulate any cell. So if you think about the hormones being released, if you take a teaspoon of sugar and throw it in a limbic-sized swimming pool, that's how minute the power of hormones can have in your body. So if you're playing that kind of music, you're stimulating certain levels of vibration, you then can maybe enhance those so-called sexual organs, the lower levels of vibration. That's why the kids always think about sex. That's why the music is dangerous, because all that thumping bass. And that thumping bass with words that go to it that are destructive, yeah, it's a bad combination.
You said you looked at limbic?
Limbic. L-I-M-B-I-C.
L-I-M-B-I-C.
It is the system for emotions. So anything that's stimulating those hormones to be circulated is what's going to impact the kids. You see how they are. The high hormone generated, and sex is just off the hook.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I have a friend that went to Africa and she said they gave her a bunch of shots about maybe 6 or 7 months ago.
Before she went?
Yes, and she still got bad effects from these shots. Now, if you're going to Africa, do you have to take these shots?
Yeah, yellow fever and malaria tablets. Yeah, it's.
And what about the shots they give our kids when they're born? And if people don't want to have the babies take the shot, they want to put you in jail.
That's the surgery.
You have a document. I have my kids, very only as far as a baby, but all through their whole school. My ex-wife got, okay, they send it, said I gotta get, I went to the school, the little record, physical medical card, to turn that rascal over. You got 3 reasons why you can deny taking those shots. I just signed it, went on out the door.
They put chips in the babies now underneath the foot.
Yeah.
When they born, they say they had a bleeding blood clot. There's a microchip on there, what you saw in the movie.
Yeah,
But they're talking about some legislation trying to make it mandatory and take that stuff away. They're working on it.
They are.
Yeah.
Just curious, since the whole world is vibrations, we have frequencies.
Oh, y'all, just a little bit.
Since the whole world is vibration, we have frequencies. It's all made up on frequency. There must be some frequencies that are healing. So could you address that?
Yeah.
Home is the number one person.
So, at the middle of nature, I think it's about 264 cycles per second. So, at the middle of nature, so that's when you quiet, you hear nothing. So, when people are in the choir, in a band, they put something on the piano, 56 cycles per second. We try to put everybody on the same level, so now we can not we, but those who sing good, converge into a nice state of consciousness. Well, guess what? When people chant, that takes you to that same level of vibration, 64 cycles per second. So when you start talking about chanting, vibrations, that is something that can be done. People have talked about on the grand level of chanting and stopping violence. I know there's been some studies talking about, yogis or people coming together on that spiritual level, and they may do that, and it changes things that happen in society. So on the level of using terms, chanting and using vibrations that can, again, take your body to another level. The issue of the brain has cavities, 2 cavities called ventricles right here. The brain sits in fluid, so any vibration, you can feel like the bones kind of vibrate. Stimulating the hormones cause you conscious. That's what I'm saying, it's dangerous with that music. The kids blasting that music in the car, that's a future hearing exercise. Because your hearing mechanism is so delicate that if those mechanisms, the hair cells are destroyed, hearing is impaired quickly. So again, the vibrations, the deep ones are really problematic.
We'll take a couple more questions, guys. A couple more. Then you guys come on. All right, bro.
I got something to expound on this question. In Africa, we had an instrument called the lute. And the lute was a healing instrument. And the strings of the lute coincided with different fluids in our body.